Hi, everyone. My name is Sabria Shipley. I'm a Philadelphia-based educator, storyteller, community ethnographer. I love the work I do with Power Street. And I also love the work I do with my youth in North Philly. Um, Donnell's coming back to us. Um, yes. Here we go. Yes.
Yes, we're back. We're back on and popping. The official Donnell Powell is here, you all.
Yes. You know, we got to have that official name. Listen. No crossovers over here.
Yeah.
Welcome. So then I just finished introducing myself to everybody. And I want to introduce you. Before I do, I want to make sure we acknowledge the land that we're on, which is Lenape land. We are standing and streaming this live in ancestral lands of Lenape. We are Lenape and other indigenous tribes and caretakers of these lands and waters. The elders who lived here before us, and the indigenous today and the generations to come. So I'm very excited to be here with a fellow educator, artist, overall community, dope individual. And let me introduce Donnell, because before he goes his whole thing, you know what I'm saying? And you can add some more if I forget anything, right? Donnell is a Philly-based educator and collector, originally from Washington, D.C. Come on, DMV. Yeah, Baltimore in the house. His main source of material use is found objects in which he believes everything in the world has another purpose for existing. He has collaborated as a teaching artist with Painted Bride Art Center, Philadelphia Playwrights, Caring People Alliance, and Artwell. He's a proud Temple University alum. TU.
Yes,
you know. And his spirit animal is the owl. He's a member of the Power Street Theater Company Advisory Board and program coordinator for PEX at Temple University. So welcome. Yes. If I had a sound effect, I'd be like, yeah.
Yes. I got the snaps with that.
Yes. So now I'm so excited to be here talking with you and just like vibing and doing what we do, right? As community members. And the first thing I want to ask you is the question they all ask us when we do our art. They're like, what inspires it, right? Where does it come from? Where's with the work that you put out, the work that you do, the community work, where does it come from? Like, what's the source? Give us the tea.
That is a great question, yo. And I haven't thought about that question in a while, but I really feel like a lot of my inspiration comes from just like my experience, yo. Just like my day-to-day experience.
Yes.
Just like my sense of just being and my sense of just belonging, right? Just like like it literally comes from conversations. I be just like waiting at the SEPTA stop, waiting for my bus or whatever, talking to a stranger, and through that conversation, something comes up, and I'm like, whoa, you don't even know what you just said inspired the next fucking piece that I'm about to do. Thank you for that. You're dope. So it really comes to just for me being, I don't think too much things out. I'm just like, what resonates with me, what gives me like chills is like, yo, that's kind of the alignment. So, I mean, a lot of my inspiration really comes from just experiences and like being around people, experience. I love to travel. So, on my travels, I get to immerse myself. I essentially immerse myself in dope art, whether that's just like going to a dope museum or just like, stumbling upon an artist that I find on Instagram that I'm like, yo, I'm about to be in such and such. Let's meet up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just really inspired by just living. That's what it is. I'm inspired by just like living and just taking in everything and just like recognizing that, wow, I see this. Yeah, I just like literally see that everything in life has like multiple purposes. You know what I mean? So that's how I approach my art. Just being like, yo, like, the recycled material that I typically use, like, kind of I can make so many different types of things from this. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't thought about that question in a long time. So thank you for that question.
Yes, come on. We love a good deep question. Let me tell you. No, I really love your answer as far as connecting your experiences and just like living becomes the art. You know what I'm saying? Because a
Right.
lot of times, especially when you talking about finding things and putting them together, that embraces my inner like Baltimore kid of how we used to like make shit out of nothing. Like we used to be like, yo, take them crates over there, and that's gonna be the fort in the abandoned field. We ain't playing these games, you know what I'm saying? Or do and having the ability to connect your art pieces to experience is like so much deeper
Yeah.
when you're in it. You're more invested in. You're more like, oh my god, I have to follow this through because it came from something, and someone.
I think I also connected to the idea of storytelling. I like
Yeah.
telling stories. I like being like, yo, this is a piece I just did, but yo, this is a dope ass story about how this came to be. And this story, which becomes my process, is everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of like go about this thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Especially, you go to a talk back, somebody be like, you're like, what made you do this piece? And they be like, art is important. You're like, but no, what made you do the piece? What happened? Because you wrote this deep piece, and be able to have that storytelling moment. I think it's very much based in ancestral kind of like, tradition and kind of wanting to like make sure that everything is connected in some way.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So how does your identity, and that can be whatever you identify as, right? Because I always say identity is like a whole umbrella of like bunch of things that we collect as we go on. How's your identity influence your work?
My identity. So like, wow, that's another great question. I feel like identity, right? I can say like, yo, I'm a black man, right? But like one of my most like the identity that I most identify with the most,
Yes.
is my just like my inquisitive weird nature. Like I just have this like inquisitive spirit, this like weird sense of just like, yo, like I'm like a different ass nigga. Like I'm just a different black dude. Like straight up. That's what I am. I've heard it from family members being like, yo, you like some of it's funny, like, yeah. Like just from so many family members that have like described me as just like even my own mom, just like, yo, you different. I'm just like, yeah, sure, thank you. I embrace it. Yes, yes. So like just I feel like my weirdness, just like my own uniqueness. Like, I feel like I'm in my own lane a lot. So like that identity of me being just like my own kind of being is what I feel like influenced a lot of my art. I remember the first time. I remember like last year, me and my wife went like snowboarding or whatever, and then I remember posting a couple like pictures of me snowboarding, and like the black community was just like, "What? This nigga snowboarding?" Yes, yes, I'm doing different shit. Yes, I'm doing different shit. I'm all about it. That's me. I love it. So yeah, I just think that part of identity, me being like so unique as a black man, like especially because like stereotypes exist, and I feel like like there's so many, like I don't like watermelon. Like, you know what I mean? No, I don't.
Hold
Real
on,
shit,
hold on,
right?
hold on.
You know what I mean?
Time out. We're gonna have to lower
Yes, I'm going there.
What
I'm
do you
going
mean? Now. I have an aunt who's allergic to watermelon, so we can't eat it in any family function because the sniff of it, she just like flares up, and I'm just like, why?
Right.
You know?
Right.
No.
Right. But yo, that makes me so different. That's again going back to my identity, me being weird, me being unique, like me being this other nigga. Like that's what I love about my identity and how it influenced like how I go about art making.
Yeah, but I think that makes you even a better, like a greater artist because you're in tune with yourself and you trust yourself. You're like, I'm gonna trust this weird shit that's about to happen. I'm gonna trust y'all. It's about to get weird in this rehearsal space. I just want you to know. you know, and then you're like, I'm so I always tell this story that like people get into rehearsal space with me and they're like, oh, Sabria's gonna be this like playing this Erykah Badu, chilling, and I turn around and Dolly Parton, Reba McEntire, Brad Paisley is coming out of my speaker. And they like, Sabria, that was not where we thought we was going. That's not what we thought we was going. I'm like, that's what gets me into, you know what I'm saying? I've been rocking this country since I was 8. My mom was like, that's you growing up in the inner city of Baltimore. Why are we blasting Dolly Parton out our windows? This is not acceptable. And I'm like, it is what it is.
Right.
You know? But now if I can be in a country play, because I'd be like, yes, that's my niche right there. Let's play. Let's do it. So I embrace that. I teach my kids the same thing. I'm like, embrace your weirdness, you know? Embrace the weirdness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about. I like being vulnerable. Like honestly, like I don't know, like I try to, like, as a teaching artist, especially working with the young scholars that I work with, I'm just like, yo, like, embrace that vulnerability, be vulnerable, like, you know, just because I don't know, I don't know. I feel like when you're in your most vulnerable state, it's just like you're just like that's when the expressive side of you come out, and I feel like I correlate expression with art so heavily. Like those things, like the word expression and art just go so hand in hand. That's
the word vulnerable. That's the word vulnerable. I had a teacher tell me one time, like that what separates you from truly tapping into your art.
Yeah,
is that vulnerability. People want to see you be vulnerable, you know, and bare your soul. Yeah. Ooh, I'm gonna come back to that. Because that was good. That was good. So tell us about an obstacle you have had to overcome in the process of overcoming, right? What have you learned about that experience? Like, what is something that you're still healing from in your artistry?
Yeah. Wow, that's a loaded question.
I'm just coming out left field. I'm sorry. I'm coming in.
That is a loaded question. So I remember, I don't know, this is a while back. I'm gonna go like, wow, I'm aging. I'm gonna go back like 10 years ago. I think this was like 10 years ago. So like I was working with my homie Tierra. We was working on a documentary project with this guy, this videographer who was contracted by the DC Commission of the Arts and Humanities to make a short documentary about Anacostia, which is a neighborhood in DC. And I feel like the obstacle there for me was like being a native Washingtonian and working with this white dude who was getting way more money than I was on this, who didn't know the community, but had the camera and had the experience. Was the big obstacle for me because I'm like, yo, like, you using me as this like young like college age person to go into, you know, my communities to essentially like introduce you to people in my community so that they can feel warm to like being a part of this documentary that you're spearheading, and you about to get all the credit for it. And yeah, that was an obstacle for me. No, it was just a big obstacle for me in artistry because I was all about like learning a new skill set because I wasn't very familiar with film. Like, so I appreciated this person like teaching me, you know, film techniques, you know, teaching me skill sets. But I'm also like, bro, you using me on the low, and I'm hip to that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm hip to it. You know what I mean?
I peep you. Like, I peep
so that was a big obstacle because there was so many times where me and my homie, you know, another Washingtonian, and again, this guy wasn't even from DC. He was like I think he was actually from Pennsylvania. So again, he was making this documentary about a community, a black community, a gentrified community at that in DC, which was just, it was just too much. So I questioned, so me and my homie was questioning, should we continue with this project? Like, after investing so much creative, you know, energy into this project, like, we had a moment, it was like, yo, like, we really see this for what it is. So should we continue with this? And that was an obstacle, you know what I mean? Because I'm also a person that's like, if I say I'm gonna start something, I want to see it to the finish. I don't half-ass shit. I don't, and plus, I don't like bailing out in the middle of something. I'm all about commitment, right? So it was a big obstacle. So we eventually, like, again, went with it. So everything went through. But it was just an obstacle. Just also, like, you know, I guess the obstacle was just like knowing your morals and your values, and just like, if things artistically don't align with those values, like, do you keep with it or do you abandon it? So I was just like, you know, so that was an obstacle for me.
Yeah.
Though I didn't abandon it. I kept with it, but I felt like I learned. You know what I mean? And, you know, I think going forward with that experience has taught me is just to, like, be very intentional from the jump. When I say from the jump, for those that don't know, the jump, I mean from the start,
From the
before you
start.
put any creative energy into anything, just be on the same accord from the beginning. Like, you know what I mean? So that no one feels this weird thing of feeling like I might be being used, or just
From the jump.
from the
Make
jump,
sure.
from the jump.
Establish what's what. I think that's important. It's important because I really, like, also, like, if things change within, you know, the process, I've also, like, advocated for, like, individuals to, like, assess how can you peacefully bow out of the project in a way that is like, hey, we said this is what we're doing from the jump. This is the intention. We've turned the intention. We've not, like, stuck by, and establish your boundaries, right? And because sometimes I'm also a person, like, if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, and then I get into it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna push through it. And then I remember one of the biggest obstacles for me was that I would burn myself out in the sake of it, because I had set the intention. I had been like, oh, I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? And this is what it's for. You know, especially with, like, going to different teaching art spaces and things like that. Sometimes you come in with the intention of, like, I'm teaching these kids what it is, but then you got administrators and class, you know, teachers doing whatever they want to do, and being very toxic in that way. And you like, I want to bow out right now, but I'm gonna stick it out because it's for these kids. But at some point, you have to be like, okay, I'm gonna stick out for these kids, but am I sticking out in the detriment of myself and my mental health? You know what I'm saying? And I think analyzing that, and it's like a balance. I feel like that balance of, like, where am I lying? Where are my intentions? Is my intentions weighing? You know? So I really appreciate that. Like, that notion of, like, set them intentions from the jump, y'all. Set your boundaries, fam. Get your boundaries.
Yeah, just from the jump. So that, like, you know, because when you in it, you ain't gotta worry about that idea of bowing out. Like, I don't know. And then it's just, I'm also I'm very a stickler of time. Like, don't waste my time. Right? Period. You know what I mean? So, like, the idea of bowing out, or like starting something and then, like, you know, reneging halfway through. Like, you have to think about the time. Like, time is valuable. Like, like, if the pandemic ain't teach me nothing, it told me that time is valuable. Like, and like, my time is not to be played with. So, you know, I think that's also what it is for me. Speaking about time, and just like valuing your time, because again, you don't know if tomorrow's promised. That's how I live it.
Yeah. This means stop calling unnecessary Zoom meetings. That could be an email or a text message. Just say, stop asking me to hop on a Zoom call, so we could easily just text, man.
Exactly. Right. Time. Right. Time. Nah, I had to, like, even on that, I had to call people. I work at Temple University, and I feel like meetings is like me. People like have meetings because meetings is considered work, which rightfully so. Meetings are work, but like meetings, but it's like this meeting again. An email or a text could have, like, sufficed.
Exactly.
But I see what's happening though.
I see I peep it. But I'm also like, just know that I'm not fully engaged with this
Right,
now.
right.
I'll be the one in the back, like, okay, let me know when I need to participate, because you know this needs some BS. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, that was kind of one that obstacle for me, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a big obstacle that a lot of people face as they going through their learning and growing. When do you feel the most powerful though?
Oh wow, these are some great questions.
Yeah.
I feel the most powerful when I just see like everybody just like being in sync. Meaning just like everybody just like having a good time. And like me feeling like I'm a catalyst of that. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing I pride myself on is being a connector. I'm a good host. I'm a good connector. I know how to put good people together. So like that's when I feel I'm most powerful, when it's like, yeah, I can get people in a room together. And just like, just like we're all good vibes. So that's when I feel like I'm most powerful, when I can just get, especially when it comes to creatives. Like I remember this, like me and my homie Jalissa, we did this like 24-hour like art marathon where we was like in this like warehouse in North Philly, and we just like commissioned all these artists just to like make art in 24 hours. Like I mean, all types of art, from like visual art, painting murals, to like theater performances. It was just dope. But like it was like, wow, we were able to get all of these artists in the space to do this. So I felt powerful in that moment. Like, wow. Because I was able to be a catalyst for that.
Yeah. That's a great kind of like, it's a blessing that be a connector in a way. You're like sitting there like, hey, I got you. Just come, chillax. I used to have college sisters you all right parties where I would just bring a group of my friends, because I'm an Aquarius, so I have different friendship groups, y'all. It has to be out. So they come together. And I'd be like, okay, y'all, everybody write a question, put it in the hat. It could be serious. It could be like lighthearted, silly. And we would be there till like 2 a.m. answering questions that were in this bucket. And like sometimes crying, being like, oh my God, yo, you ain't have to go that deep, Or being like, you're a hot mess. I want you right now. That answer right there, whoever asked this question, is I lied, right? So like having those moments allows you to kind of like be able to be in connection. Like it's relational power. It's relational power in a way. Being able to relate to people and have that moment of like, okay, I've brought this community together and I'm holding my community, supporting my community. So I really dig that. Yeah. So in what ways do you hope to leave the world better than you found it? Even though I must clarify this question and say that it is no one's responsibility to leave the world better than they found it. It's your responsibility. I feel like it's your responsibility to come into the world and bring your purpose to it. But it shouldn't be your responsibility to change the world, because the world has its own structures and things I control. But yeah, what do you want to change? What would you change? Leave the world better with?
I think I would want to like leave the world with just like imparting to people that like, if you put love at the core in the center of everything that you do, like your life will be the most glorious thing ever. Like straight up, if you literally center the idea of love in everything that you do, your life will be glorious. Like straight up. So if I can impart that in people, like by whatever means, like that's how I feel like I could bring about change, or how I could influence or leave a mark on the world. It's just like, just like exemplifying and modeling that, like by centering love at the core and center of everything you do, like you'll have a pretty glorious life.
The key to abundance. The key to abundance. The key to abundance.
Like
Yeah.
straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that, That's just literally what it is. It's like yeah, like think about if you put love into making a good meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like like the taste of that meal is going to be glorious,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Think about if you put love into the idea of studying for a test, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, the results of what you score on that test is going to be glorious.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Think about like real talk. If you literally center love in everything that you do,
Yeah. I think also like taking it further, like understanding that love is at the core of everything. My
exactly.
I had a teacher once tell me that if you have a dislike for somebody, like a true hate for somebody, it stems from a love. It stems
Mm,
from a wanting to love that person, but it doesn't work out. So you're like, okay, I have
mm-hmm,
lust, I have hate, but there's that its intensity. It comes from love, the
mm,
intensity of it,
mm,
and it's hard to understand for a lot of people because of the way in which the world tells us we have to like when you put in love. I think the conversation has to shift for like love being platonic
mm,
in a lot of ways, because some people don't think of love in a platonic way,
mm-hmm,
right? The amount of love we put into our day and it's intentions too. Love is
mm-hmm.
intentions.
Yeah,
What are my
exactly.
intentions?
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's just yeah, exactly the right like thinking about love in the platonic way. Yeah, exactly. So all of that. Um, so yeah, I just think
Yeah.
yeah, it's even what you said about like thinking about like the people we dislike, or I'm gonna even take it to an even stronger level of hate, using the word hate, because I had a
Mm-hmm.
fifth grader tell me she hate me today.
It's like,
And I'm like,
you're like
yes, yes.
they do
Talking
that.
about
They'll do that.
teaching artist struggle. Having a
Listen, we
fifth
should talk
grade
about that right there.
precious little child look you in the eye saying, I hate
I can't stand
you.
you.
But
Yeah.
again, it's coming out of love. It's like because as a teaching artist, as a substitute, I'm coming with so much abundance of love. Like again, it can be too much for people. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? That's the real thing too. You know what I mean? I think we said the word balance at some point during this conversation, but
Mm-hmm.
everything is with balance. So, yeah, wow, these are some great questions. Thank you for these.
Yeah. Thank you for answering. Thank you. Some great answers and like new perspectives. I'm like, yeah, yeah. It's from love. It's all from love. You
Mhm.
know. I did want to ask you as an educator because you talked about that fifth grade that says, "Hey, I hate you," right? The notion, I think, something that I have like seen as a teaching artist when I'm with my youth, the love that I have for them is like ridiculous. Like I
Mhm.
have a love that is like, oh, I'm committed to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm committed to making sure that I'm helping you in that way, helping
Mhm.
you be vulnerable, helping you just explore and express and those kind of things. And then you see teaching artists or people who don't love kids, who don't
Mhm.
have that love for them in that way. And you're like, is that blocking? Is there disadvantage to those certain kids? And it also leaves kind of the disproportionate of like us who are like, then they're like, I love these kids. I'm gonna put my all into it. And you stand next to somebody who's like, it's whatever. This is just a job. It's the work. You know what I'm saying? How does that love come across in moments with your kids? You know what I'm saying? And then I think Fatima has a question. Kim, do you have a question? If you do, yes.
Oh, Priscilla got her hand raised. Oh,
Yeah,
Priscilla's in the building.
Fatima.
What's up,
Fatima,
Priscilla?
do you have a question, Fatima? Because if you do, I would be honored because I'm a Fatima stan. Anyways. No, just wave it. Okay. Hi, Fatima. Yeah. So how do you what are some moments that you love or those moments with your kids that you love? Like you're like, okay, this is the moment. And how do you see the difference um
Ah. Some of the moments that I love, just like the teaching moments when the kid just teaches me something. Like, you know what I mean? When I don't always have to be teacher, I can become student. Those are the moments I love. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so out of tune with so much like new age stuff that I just love, just like learning that. So that's the moment I love. I just love seeing like, you know, a kid like come in like mad at the world, and by the end of the day they're just like, yo, I'm trying to stay with you, like I'm trying to stay. You know what I'm saying? Those are moments I love. um you know, I love huh. I love I love seeing like students like really like figure things out on themselves actually. You know what I mean? Like you like me as a teaching artist, like and an educator, just like, you know, kind of giving them the tools and just like seeing how they're gonna use those tools instead of saying like you should do this and you should do that. But being like, here's what you can use. How are you gonna use them to solve something? Right. Those are the moments I love. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And those are beautiful moments to like witness and to be a part of. It's
Exactly.
Like, yeah. I'm gonna open up the floor for if you know, Donna, if you have any questions you want to throw out there or things you want to discuss, and also if anybody who is viewing right now has any questions for us, you know, in power.
Questions. Power talks. Yeah, I don't really have any questions. I would just other than just like what gets people going these days? Like what gets people going these days? I mean, we've been like in this like place of just like I don't know, uncertainty or whatever. I don't know. What keeps people going? What are you doing? I don't know.
What are you doing? Y'all can respond in the chat, and I don't know what keeps people going. I think it's.
What do you want to be doing in 5 years? Somebody, this question for me. I love this question. I love questions like these.
That's
like,
a question from my mama, so you better answer it correctly, dog. Now that's my mama's question.
No, I love questions like these. Yes. No. What do I want to be doing in 5 years? I want to be being the best daddy ever. I'm actually about to have a baby in March 8th. I'm having my first baby March 8th. So like that question. So yes, Mom, I'm trying to be the best daddy in 5 years. That's what I'm trying to do.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm trying to like write children's books. Like that's what I want to be doing in 5 years. I've been really inspired. Thank you for everybody just giving love in the chat. I really want to be inspired. I've been inspired by children's books, so I really see myself like writing a series of like or illustrating because I do got that skill set of some children's books.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Yep.
Yeah. That would be amazing. You would write some dope children's books.
Yes.
Like bestsellers, yes. Yes. And then we had a question. What, if anything, has changed for you as an artist because of the pandemic? That's the question.
Woo! Oh my gosh. Teaching artist work has been it's been a struggle for me. I've been a teaching artist during the pandemic because a lot of my residencies have been virtual. And I have to admit, I'm not a good virtual teacher when it comes. Yeah, I'm not a good virtual teacher because I'm a people's person, one. So I love just like being in the company, being in the space. And like, even though we're in company and space right now, like right in this virtual world, when it comes to little ones, you know, I think in person, it's just something about being in person. So like, I think that has been a big shift for me in terms of like being in this virtual world was just like teaching honestly, and like how I hadn't figured it out yet.
Yeah. I think for me, it's been solitude, like learning to create. Because I'm a big people person. I love to collaborate. I love anytime everybody's like, friends like, oh, let's come to the studio. I'm like, oh, I'll be there. Let's do it. Let's vibe out. And the beginning of the pandemic, having to like sit in my house for hours and just be like, oh shit, I'm gonna make some stuff right now just by myself, you know. And that solitude, I think a lot of artists have to kind of like get to that point, and solitude not being out of ego, but solitude being out of transparency, vulnerability. What does that look like, and what do I give? You know what I'm saying? I know my poetry book was born out of me being in solitude, being like, okay, I can actually put these things in a book. That's cool. That's cool. I can do that, right? But having the trust in myself to do that took like solitude in a way. Yeah.
Hold on, real quick. Can I give you your flowers real quick? I know this is featuring me. I know this is a Power Talks featuring Donnell or whatever. But yo, I gotta acknowledge Black woman for you got a major grant recently that I just read, and I was just like, Sabrina is doing the damn thing. So let me and I've been meaning to reach out to you to be like, yo, I'm so proud of you, yo, just to see your growth from like our time, even with Young Playwrights or whatever.
Yes.
I just wanted to give you your flowers, like, cause I was like, wow, this is long overdue. And like that grant wasn't no minor grant. That was some major stuff. So I just wanted to like share that with you and be like, you dope. You're dope, actually. So I'm just like sharing this space with you because like I'm also not about this being about me. So I was just like, I've been meaning to like even just email you and just send you a congrats on that thing, but it just popped up. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Especially as a youngin who like has looked up to you. Like I remember being at retreats at Philadelphia Playwrights and seeing you and Gabby just like doing y'all thing, and I'm sitting there like, someday I'm going to be as confident as this, you know, and being like, listen, and having that moment, like even to be, you know what I'm saying, I was like, Donnell, I used to love the way Donnell like led a workshop. It was like, this is what you need to do, and I'd be like, okay, that works. So I appreciate the flowers. Because it's like, it means a lot. It does. Gabby's like, y'all dope. Gabby, you're dope.
Yes, Power Script is dope. It's interesting. Like, I don't know, for those that don't know, that's probably on the line. I'm also advisory board member of Power Street, which I'm very honored to be a part of, serve in that role, because I'm all about just like working with, especially grassroots organizations who's really like, you know, working with the community and really doing that work on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, with that being said, I just like, you know, always support the work of Power Street. You know, I as a person who actually wasn't like trained in the theater world, I've just always have a deep appreciation for the art of theater. And especially because theater, unlike many other mediums, bring people together. Like, and when you think of a production, there's so many hands in the production. Whereas, like, as me, I can go like create a painting or do something on my own, going back to solitude, right? But something beautiful about theater, it brings people together. So, you know, I just wanted to name that, you know, I am very honored to be an advisory board member of Power Street in terms of like, you know, helping them to go to the next level.
Yeah, 10 years. Power Street celebrates 10 years this year, and that's like monumental. So dope. I remember Power Street came to Temple's our production practicum, and I was like, "What you mean?" I said, "Listen, we finna be in all productions, be in the audience, being like, yes, go ahead, and also be like the way Power Street's community works is so." Dope. Like it's so beautiful to witness. Just, you know, the level of kind of like wanting to advocate for a community that deserves to have theater. You know what I'm saying? Because let's be honest, Black, brown, indigenous folks are, you know, we the originators of some of the theater practice that we see today. We the OGs. And so
Yes.
returning to our communities is essential. And so Powertree does that every year for 10 years.
Yes.
That's some dope shit. That's some dope. I don't know. Y'all know if I'm supposed to be cussing on this live. Y'all supposed to power talk. I find power in explicit words sometimes. So y'all know. But that's just, it's like so beautiful. And you know, I'm excited for all that Powertree has going on. I want y'all to be sure to like make sure that you are subscribing to the Powertree's text messages. You know what I'm saying? You stay updated with what Powertree is doing. Right, Gabby? Yes, get emotional because come on, that we giving flowers. Come on, I'm giving a hand gesture to flowers.
I'm also just like thinking about like what is next for the like the art scene in Philly, and this is probably for a whole nother podcast because like when I came in Philly in 2008, like I've just seen so much things evolve, and I'm just very as an artist and a maker in the city, I'm just very. Like I'm like wondering what is like art going to be like in 5 years because I've seen it change. Like I remember when I first came to Philly and First Friday down Old City was like popping, like it was popping, and then it just went away. So I'm just like and I believe in like change. I believe in like things like new things coming, but like that's one thing I'm very like. What's the next 5 years of Philly art look like?
Yeah, because Philly has. When I came to Philly, I was like, I think it was 2014, y'all, and I was coming for Temple, and like everybody was at regional theater. Everyone was down in Center City seeing the play left and right. You know what I'm saying? At the art and at different places, like they were there, and then I think a lot of times, as people begin to wake up to the commercialization of, regional theater and sometimes the diversity issue, a lot of my friends are like, man, fuck that conventional theater. We gonna devise some shit. What you mean?
Yeah.
We gonna get some stuff together, and it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter if it's professionally produced. We doing it. It's professionally doing it. I see a lot of that popping up. A lot of people creating for themselves. A lot of people out here like, let's just throw a whole festival together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see that like work, but I'm also wanting to know like, we still don't have the regular theater because I do like going to the theater.
Me too. Yeah, like I'm the same. So like I'm just like, cause I don't know. I really don't know, and I ain't even. And like outside of the pandemic, this is stuff I've been thinking about even before the pandemic played a part in any of this. It's just like I've just seen a shift in just like the art scene in Philly from when I first came here. And I think the shift for me explicitly, I mean, candidly speaking, is just like it felt. I guess now it feel like more commercial. Like, I don't know. More commercial and out of reach. It feels out of reach and out of touch, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I guess.
That's
what I'm trying to say. Candidly speaking, it feels commercial and out of reach and out of touch. And I'm just like, I hope, we can get, again, going back to this idea of balance. I just wish we can get back to some of that grit that I first experienced when I came here. More, yeah, I don't know. But I'm glad for organizations like BTAP existing. I'm glad for organizations like Power Street existing. I'm glad for, just like individual artists like myself and you existing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But those are all of my questions. I got so many questions but I feel like it would take us on another 2 hours.
Yeah, we'd be on here for a while. We have Power Talks.
Right.
No, I think I really appreciate all that you brought to, our discussion and like what we do as artists. Like what is the power in artistry? Because it's important because a lot of people don't acknowledge the power within the artistry, especially in our schools, especially in our, the funding that we get to do our art. Like, I wish people could tune in right now and be like, oh, let me fund anything I'm doing. I'm putting money towards. You know what I'm saying? And I think that needs to happen more. I'm excited for that to happen more. I see coming in. I'm waving. Yeah. And I think one thing that I want to, like, our last question, like, just to dive in, is if you had to write a show right now to kind of like detail your life, what would it look like? What's the plot? What's the storytelling? Like, if you had to write something that you're like, all right, this is going to premiere, you know what I'm saying, 6 months, a year, but it details like who I am at this moment. What's that show? Like, what would you write? It could be a TV show, play, podcast, whatever it is,
Whoa.
I know, the loaded last question. Look.
Yeah. So is this about my life or just something? Hold on. So is this question about like how would I?
If you had to write a play, TV show, whatever, that to detail your life right now, it could be your life in a larger scale, or it be your intimate life, or it could be your larger scale life.
Wow. It'll probably be like a series. It'll probably be like a series of like comedians in cars getting coffee with like Jerry Seinfeld. It will be kind of like in that format of just like me, like, and it'll probably be like, because I used to work at a coffee shop or whatever, and coffee is a big part of my life because I love it. It'll probably be in a format like that of me just like meeting up with different people that have been very important in my life. And I was just like catching up like over coffee, and just like shooting the shit kind of sort of. But I think it would be, and I think like instead of like comedians in cars getting coffee, it would be because I'm not really into cars. Like that's one thing. That's one fact about me. I am just not a car person. Like I don't care about cars. It would probably be like coffee and pastries or something like that. So like, you know what I mean?
Balance.
So instead of like the cars effect, like it'll be like, will whoever this person that will be joining me in conversation, the connecting piece will be some pastry that we have in common or something, and that'll like unfold a series of stories that I've shared with this person or something. I don't know. But I love comedians and cars getting coffee. That's what, so like whatever this show about my life would be kind of based on that model of just me just having these really intimate like moments with people in various places. Because that's the other thing about my life. That's interesting that you say that, because like I travel. Like if anybody know me, I've traveled the world. And like I think like, just like meeting up with different people that I love in different various spots that I've been in my lifetime.
Yes.
So whether that was on like a remote island in Madagascar, whether that was like, in an alleyway down Rittenhouse Square trying to get in the speakeasy. You know what I mean? That's kind of my life, just all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. Alina said, shooting the shit. Yes. I would watch that show. I would be like, listen.
Shooting the shit. Yes.
Yes, Fatima, you should do that for real. I'm telling you, get you a coffee shop. It's like, okay, you can bring somebody here. Y'all can record, If all your favorite Philly artists, and you just be like, listen, let's drink coffee and talk shit.
Yeah, talk shit. Yeah, let's just drink coffee and talk shit.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think mine's. I always have this notion that I feel like people are walking around with multiple persons of themselves just on their shoulder or behind their back. And that notion of like, whenever I walk into the room, I wish that I could do a show where like the answer to anybody's question or view of me that day shifts based on one button of like,
oh
yes.
wow.
Oh, you want caretaker, Sabria?
Oh wow.
And it shifts, and the whole scene, this kind of shifts into this like, here, caretaker Sabria has shown up, right? Or you want, Savage Sabria, who's like not going to cut any shit with you, gonna be like, listen, let's talk about this. Shift it, right? And because I always feel like that's something that happens with like the way we all navigate anxiety and depression. Like when we're talking to somebody and we're talking to them, we're like, we don't see, that like behind the scenes motion of somebody. That's a very vulnerable thing of like, we don't take into account how people walk into the space, right? And how they walk into the space is having to do with who they are in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Who they are in that lifetime. Or even just like a screen. I wish I could have a screen for people so you could just be like, oh, you didn't sleep last night. You only slept 2 hours last night. I'm gonna leave you alone, son. I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm gonna go this way, right? Especially when I'm teaching my kids. So I really love that notion. I also like sci-fi kind of things. Like I like that, that sci-fi kind of life. That's like, okay, it's like implantation. It could be also, again, y'all, the Aquariusness. I'm sorry, it could be the Aquarius like wanting to be an alien.
Now, when you said sci-fi, I just thought of Lovecraft Country.
Right.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff.
Now,
that's the other version of whatever type of life projection I would have. So if it wasn't the comedians in cars getting coffee type of model, it would be like a Lovecraft Country, like just crazy type of movie or series.
On the other hand, I feel like I always have wanted to be in a 90s like sitcom, not to be in the sitcom, but just be in the credits. And have, like that slow motion of like Sabria Shipley going across the street and he just laughing for no reason, candidly. It's just like, no, actually, like, sometimes I practice, y'all, with like a song. If it's like a good song, I'm like, this would be a good freaking show intro song. With just me being like, laughing, doing my thing. So thank you all for coming. Donnell, you are amazing. Love chatting with you. Love like just, shooting the shit with you.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you, Sabria. I've enjoyed just like sharing space with you, catching up, just taking a stab at some questions that I haven't like thought about or reflected on in a while. So thank you for those, getting me back into that space. And yeah, it's been dope. I appreciate everybody that was able to come out as well. Thank you.
Yeah. And y'all, we have, if I'm correct, 3 more Power Talks throughout this month. It's Black History Month. So show up, support some Black beings in the space. Really, definitely support Power Street and what all they're doing in this 10th year, right? That means subscribe to the text message. That means attend the Power Talks. It means like, share, all those different things. Let's uplift this community that has like rallied together to bring art to our, to Black and brown folks, in North Philadelphia and Philadelphia at large, right? So let's make sure that's like a part of like the essential moving forward. And yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm about to go grub.
Yeah, I am about to go grub, actually. Right. I'm about to go grub, actually, because I actually have to get lab work done in the morning. So I have to like eat my last meal before midnight. So yeah, I'm about to grub. It's been real, y'all. Peace.
Peace, y'all.